Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching this brief ag forecast brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. I'd like to take a first look here at how much things have changed over the last couple of weeks, and we're going to do that by looking back on July the 26th at our 40 centimeter or 16-inch soil moisture values. We had a very, very wet July with the southwestern monsoon, one of the wettest on record here in parts of Arizona, and it was stormy from Texas through parts of Illinois, getting up to lower Michigan and pockets of the Northeast as well as pockets of Ontario. We saw drought that was beginning to develop in the Appalachian Mountains and parts of the Ohio River Valley. And then we come back here to the Central Plains, the Western Corn Belt, into the Upper Midwest and Northern Plains, where our drought scenario has been of concern all season long. Now, thinking about that, how much have things changed? Well, this was back on the 26th. Let's now fast forward and take a look at the latest data here on August the 9th. So again, the 26th, and here is the 9th. Now, storms came out of parts of South Dakota through central Minnesota and really have produced a flooding problem in central Wisconsin. We did see some storms last night, which are not well represented on this, that came out of eastern Iowa into northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. Meanwhile, drought has expanded in this area, flash drought has, and the storms that are moving through here early this morning were a good sign. We like to see that moisture coming into that area. But it's gotten deeper, the drought has in this pocket here, despite some heavy rain that did move through Omaha over the weekend as well. So I wanted just to kind of show you those details, because we do have better chances for storms coming into the northern plains here in the next 24 hours or so. And we can see that right now. So there is an upper level low sitting here and another one sitting right here. And these two features, well, the more dominant one is going to be the one on the back side, and it's going to go up toward the Hudson Bay, and it's going to be a main feature throughout the next several days for precipitation, especially in the eastern third of the United States. But we got to watch this low later on today, because going right over the same area where we saw some severe weather and stronger storms last night and this morning, we're going to get another round of that today. And you can see in this satellite animation, if I kind of go back and forth here, how things are shaping up throughout the day today. Now, in addition to this, I just want to kind of illustrate where that smoke is going from the western wildfires. So we'll get it to the very end here, and you can still see it extending into the midsection of the country. But let me go back quickly through last night into yesterday evening. And as we're now back here to where the sun was setting last night, we can see how the change in wind speed and direction as this trough curled up here. We now are blowing that smoke from northern California through Nevada, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, and up toward Montana. And it spread across parts of the central plains, the high plains, and farther to the south. And just thinking about that, where's that smoke going? Well, this animation shows you that trough is going to clear things out in the north and press that smoke farther to the south. Watch it again here through the day on the 10th, and then we'll get out here into the 11th as well. So that's how things are shifting here over the next 48 hours or so. Now, thinking about precipitation, I'd like to show you an animation of the last 16 hours of precipitation from radar. We're going to watch those same two systems, the low that's in Montana and the second one that's curling up here in southern Wisconsin. As it restarts, showers and storms through Montana last night, some through northeastern Iowa, coming into southern Wisconsin. And the rain in southern Illinois pressing this morning and throughout the midday over into the Ohio River Valley. This is in some dry areas here, so we like to see this. Now again, we're going to watch for storms to reignite here today and also in the Red River Valley of the north. But let's take a quick look at how much rainfall we've had through noon today, looking back over the last 72 hours. So getting into the weekend, this was the area of heaviest rainfall right in through here. Models overestimated rainfall on either side of it, too far to the north and throughout much of Iowa. Notice how there are large pockets of Iowa where a week ago we saw much heavier rains, and they didn't get those rains, especially in southeastern Iowa. The rains down here were under-predicted. In other words, the models were not foreseeing that rain at the beginning of last week moving through parts of Illinois, and this is certainly moving into some drier fields as we stated here. Coming up the East Coast, we can see some heavy rain as we talked about last week right along the coast. And in the Central Plains, there have been some scattered storms with some heavier precipitation as well. So this is just a good look at what the weekend gave us. Now where we're going from here, let's take a quick look at the July precipitation ranks. I told you it was wet in Arizona. They right now have had the second wettest in the last 127 years, July's on record. The driest places, well, Minnesota. Compared to the state averages, okay, Minnesota was the driest. The whole northern tier of the U.S. and Canadian prairie, clear back to Washington state, very dry. So this, again, July precipitation ranks. Now, California has been very dry as well, but much of what you get here to give it that high ranking came from the monsoonal circulation in through this area. It's still very dry in the northern part of the state. Just wanted to point that out. Now from here, where are we going in this forecast? Severe weather risk today in the Red River Valley of the North and right here in parts of northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, in this section of Indiana. And then tomorrow, what we're going to watch is a much broader sector in through here. This is on the 10th. This is the 1-year anniversary of the derecho event in Iowa last year. And there's some concern of some more straight line wind damage. Now, I am not calling for a derecho event, but what I'd like to show you is what the 12Z NAM is currently forecasting here. So as we play this through this afternoon and this evening, let's get out here to Monday evening. Scattered storms all along this boundary, in throughout the Ohio River Valley and across the southeast. Same thing taking shape here in southern Saskatchewan and Manitoba, and then watch the Red River Valley of the North late tonight. This will be the area we're going to watch for those storms to form. Now, what you've got right in through here, born off the outflow of the storms in northern Illinois in the overnight, we'll have to wait and kind of now cast our way through this to see if those storms do develop and press towards, for example, St. Louis in the overnight hours. This right here, again, it's in the model, but we're going to have to see if it does materialize. As we then work our way into Tuesday morning, getting into Tuesday midday, this will be the point of initiation we're going to watch again tomorrow midday, to see if storms erupt there. Because at this point, if they do, the models have been pretty consistent with taking those storms and pushing them farther to the south in 2 different areas throughout the day tomorrow into tomorrow night. So this is through 10 p.m. tomorrow night. And yes, this will be a squall line type situation should it form, producing locally heavy rainfall and some strong gusty winds. Meanwhile, the big story is going curling up here into parts of Ontario toward the Hudson Bay, and that's what's going to drive our weather toward the end of the week. But we're going to watch in the overnight hours on Tuesday into Wednesday morning for this complex of storms to spread through the central part of the Corn Belt. Okay? Now from here, that low curls up right here by the time we get out to the 11th, and it's going to leave a front in place there that's slowly going to move toward the southeast. It's going to take time though. But before I get to it, the tropics. I'm going to talk to you about the tropics because we have 2 systems in the East Pacific, neither of which are expected to curl around and cause problems in the southwest. But there's an open wave right here we're going to be watching move toward the Greater Antilles. We better get in there and see that. First, let's stitch it all together and just show you the next week's worth of precip from the WPC. So the low that curls up here, returning rains to this area, eventually leaves a front right in through here that presses throughout the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, and over toward the Appalachian Mountains throughout this week. Scattered storms in the southern plains. Northward extent of the southwestern monsoon is limited. Dry in the upper Midwest, and then dry back in this part of the plains after the front moves through. The other part of this story is right here. And let's go take a look at what the latest update is. Let's see if we can get a newer update. Yeah, good. The 2 p.m. update just came out, and they've now got this up to an 80% chance of developing into a tropical storm, or excuse me, a tropical depression. And they continue to keep the track of whatever this is, whether it's a depression or tropical storm as it goes over the Lesser Antilles. They keep it going over the island of Hispaniola and Cuba. Now this morning, the 0Z European model had by Friday the storm system, the tropical storm system, somewhere here approaching the southern tip of Florida. Maybe this is now moved a bit farther to the south. We'll wait until get the 12Z runs later on today to see if that shift is there. But my point is, getting in through the weekend and early next week, the southeast, including Florida, coming up through the Carolinas, this is all in play for receiving some tropical moisture from this system. Another way to look at it is let's just go out there and look at the next 10 days from the 0Z ECMWF at the probability of getting an inch of rain. So storms in through here, which we've talked about. The frontal boundary, which sags through the Tennessee Valley but leaves a tail here in the southern plains, brings the heaviest rains into this area, and that is a region that has been very dry, so we're going to see that increase. Then as the tropical system moves through, this is going to be the area where we'll have a wild card in terms of total precip. But this map is very instructive here on what our next 10 days or so is going to look like in terms of total precip. From there, let's go take a look at just what the European model suggests. And again, you can pause the video and take a closer look. I'm kind of leaning toward the European model solution on this, and so is the National Weather Service, based upon their analysis on what we expect in terms of total accumulated precipitation through the next week. But what I've described already is represented in this particular map. They've got, by the time you get to the end of the weekend, the northern extent of that tropical system moving basically towards southern Georgia at this point. We look at this same map and compare it to normal. This is what you end up getting. So this is precipitation anomalies through the next 7 days. Now from here, I want to stretch this out and look out using both models, the GFS and the European, out to day 10. The GFS builds in this ridge by the 19th and another one here. And the flow is a bit more amplified than what we're getting from the European model. Now with the trough moving through this area, this would indicate great upward motion here and a lot of storms for the northern plains. And to be honest, if I were in the northern plains, I would be rooting big time for the European model because as you can see, it is wetter in this area. Now it has what's left of that tropical system somewhere in here, although it's really struggling with the development of it. And you notice that coastal Carolinas through Florida, back here into the Mid-South is dry in the GFS. I don't buy this, okay? And there's a reason why I don't buy it. I'm going to show it to you in the European model. By day 10 in the European, the main features are there, but the flow is a bit more subtle. And honestly, it might be a bit too washed out. But why I think that the European model is more than likely correct on this precipitation pattern for week 2, at least probably the best representation we've got right now, is because of all the moisture recycling that happens during the month of August. In other words, where there's moisture now, it evaporates, gets into the lower atmosphere, and is used again. So I even think that this area and through here, is probably called too dry for the week 2 time period. And the tropical system moving through here, we're just going to keep a very close eye on this all week to see if there's any changes there. But storms in the midsection of the country, possibly coming up here into parts of the upper Midwest, that is a real possibility getting into week 2 based upon that flow pattern. Next, temperatures. We have a large area where there are heat advisories today. This is all air quality issues, and excessive heat warnings are out, or watches, are out for the Northwest. And that's because that area throughout the month of July has been the hottest on record. And if you look here in the southern plains to the southeast, we've resisted seeing those extreme temperatures. And where this is going, it's a hot one today in the central plains, triple-digit heat there, cooler in Montana. And as we go into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we're going to wait on the frontal boundary to come through at the end of the week here. So it's going to be very hot outside of that, from Pacific Northwest through the central plains and Midwest all the way to the Northeast. But as we get into the weekend, Friday, getting into Saturday, that front passes through. The tropical system is advancing, and we're going to see those two areas showing up cooler. And this is how things shape up on Sunday as that front continues to make its southward advance. Now looking at their longer term, I'm going to show you the European model. This is now day 5 through 10. So the cooler air extends from down here in the Four Corners states through the Midwest. The heat rebuilds in the Northwest. And as I slide through every 6 hours here, going all the way out to now the day 10 through 15 pattern, the European model is warmer across the northern tier of the U.S. than the GFS is at this point, given the northward retreat of that jet stream. And that could be absolutely critical in figuring out the longer term forecast. So speaking of that, let's go take a look. We have very, very weak signals for the end of August getting into September. What the models do not show is they don't show widespread dry conditions. Do you notice that? By the end of the month, it appears that we're going to be seeing better chances for a stormy August to beginning of September. And in the long-range forecast video, or the more in-depth one, I talk about the differences between the models here, but this is the main thing. Signals are extremely weak. If there's a place we're watching most carefully, it's going to be the interaction, these very warm ocean temperatures here, and what they do to disrupt the flow over parts of the Bering Sea and North Pacific. Because our La Nina continues to show up here. There's cooler water surfacing. It's plenty warm in the Atlantic for hurricane development, but those stronger trade winds are giving us, again, a better clue about maybe what fall is going to be. And I'm going to finish with that because we got brand new long-range updates for September, October, November from the NMME. And what you notice is it's trying to bring in the wetter weather west first and possibly lending over, once we get into September and October, a drier harvest for much of the midsection of the country. The wild card is always tropical cyclones, and we just can't represent those in these models. But if we go from there over to the temperature, October, November, December, not temperature, but October, November, December precip, this is very much a La Nina view of what fall looks like. And that's where I'm going to be watching very carefully to see these models adjust and see how things change as that La Nina takes shape. Because at this point, it's looking to be weak, maybe up to moderate strength. So I'll stop there, and I'll be watching the weather this week and report back to you again on Thursday. Appreciate your attention. Thank you.